Gem International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond-producing country in Africa, located next to the fourth largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109-carat diamond, recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior, with a proven operator and finance team. Gem International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mish Shedlock, editor of Mish's Global Economic Trend Analysis on MishTalk.com. Mike, the Fed is talking tough right now. They said, we don't mind if inflation goes up. We'll be a cheerleader for it, and that means rates will likely go up. Again, we talk about it. What are the odds?
I don't know. In fact, I was just thinking of writing a post on that here. There's a Wall Street Journal article out. Actually, it came out on the 14th, so I've been watching this. But I was away for the weekend shooting Fall Colors. I didn't get as many posts in as I would like to. Anyway, Yellen cites the benefits of the economy running hot for some time. That's the Wall Street Journal headline. You know, I'm wondering if they're starting to look at this data and if Yellen herself is having second thoughts here about hiking. Of course, you know my position all along. I never thought they would hike this year, and so far they haven't. So and a lot of people thought that the Fed would pull a surprise in September. I said, no. So, you know, we'll see. I don't believe they're going to hike in November. The economic reports now are at best mediocre. Meanwhile, I'm watching GDP projections here. The Atlanta Fed GDP Now model is 1.9%. It started out at 3.7. We've almost lost 2 full percentage points off this damn thing. The New York Fed estimate had never got that high, and so I was watching that saying, well, this is a better model to follow. Now they've actually reversed. The New York Fed model is 2.3, and GDP Now is 1.9. But I look at the economic data. I even looked at the industrial report today. Guess what? This is going to take another tick off of both of them. And the Empire State Manufacturing report that came out today was horrendous. GDP Now does not track that. The Atlanta Fed GDP Now does not track that, but the Nowcast does track that. I suspect that might take off, maybe half a point. So we're talking about, maybe 1.8 versus 2.0 or something at the end of this week. Is the Fed really going to hike into this? I think the Fed's starting to get scared. When Yellen came out and made that speech, there might be benefit to letting the economy run hot. She's worried about these economic reports.
Well, this is so weird, though. Why would you choose not to take all the information you could?
I don't understand the question, but these guys actually maybe I do, because these guys hardly ever look at all the information. I wish I really knew what was going on in their minds. Part of me says, because this is the way they think, we need to hike now so we have some room to cut later. But you know what? They should have hiked, and I posted on this last week. They should have hiked in 2014. We had 3 quarters back to back to back. One was 5%, one was 4%, one was 2.8%. If they wanted to hike, they had plenty of reason to hike back then. They had a chance. They didn't do it. Instead, they blew bubbles in stocks. They blew bubbles in bonds. Now manufacturing is literally in the gutter, and consumer spending bounced this last this last month, but it was expected. I did a post. I said, you know what? This looks like a really strong number, but I wonder what the models predicted. Because it's not the number that changes these forecasts. It's actually what these economic reports do in relationship to what their model predicted. The GDP Now model actually predicted a stronger forecast than actually what came out, ended up taking a tenth of a percentage point off its estimate. The nowcast from the New York Fed was a little bit weaker, so it added a tick. But that's what we're at. That's where we're at here. We're talking about 2% growth, and this is following growth of 0.8% in the first quarter, 0.9% in the fourth quarter of last year, and a very anemic, I can't remember, they revised it up, was it 2.3% or something, this last quarter. So we're talking about a full year's growth averaging maybe, if I add this up, certainly under 2%, and the Fed's talking about hiking, and they're insisting that they're going to hike. Put me in the camp that says I'll believe it when I see it, Jim.
On Canadian business television, today they were giving people lessons on how to short. Does that kind of give you a prediction on what the markets are going to do?
I don't know. Normally that kind of stuff is a contrary indicator. It depends on whether or not people follow it. You can always find these kinds of things. Certainly I do know that in 2000, when the technology stocks keep getting hammered and hammered and hammered and hammered and hammered, Maria Bartiromo comes out and says, what should we looking for to short? And I know some people that closed all of their shorts out that day when she said that. So, an isolated instance like that, I don't know if it means anything at all, Jim. If that was the pervasive sentiment, I would probably want to bet against it, but it's not pervasive, I'm quite certain.
We'll have more with Mish Shedlock right after the break.
I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mish Shedlock. Mish, Russia and OPEC have said they're going to talk about perhaps freezing production levels, which are at record highs right now. Is that really going to be followed through, and would that have any impact with so many other really big oil producers not willing to take part?
Seems meaningless to me. The freezing production at record high levels, what does that do? So especially when the global economy is slowing, and it surely is, we've just not seen it yet. And I don't know, maybe there's a slight uptick in Asia right now, in China. Certainly not Japan, it doesn't look like. So, but if the U.S. catches a cold, the whole world is going to, if the U.S. sneezes, the whole world is going to catch a cold. And I think that's what we're heading into here. It's just a matter of time. And Europe, the Brexit mess, whether Hillary or Trump wins, and it's going to be Hillary now, it's pretty obvious, but there's likely to be a global trade war. Hillary, Trump wanted to build a wall. That was never going to happen because he was never going to get funding for it. But Hillary wants this global trade prosecutor. The entire Brexit thing is really an argument about trade, very little else. There is a very real risk here of a global trade war of some kind. There's a real risk of a global currency crisis of some sort. And whichever president wins here, and the same thing holds true in France or even Germany, voters are angry, and no matter who wins, that anger ain't going away.
And how does that translate for the economy?
Well, the people are angry over, they don't know why they're angry, actually. They're angry because wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living. And who's responsible for that? The Fed. Now, they're blaming the corporations for not paying higher wages. They're blaming politicians for not having minimum wage hikes. But it all comes back to central bank policy that has inflated asset prices, made billionaires out of CEOs. We bailed out the banks. We did nothing for the little guy. We've got all of these allegations now recently coming out against Wells Fargo. Some people have gotten fired over that. They're trying to claw back some of their exit bonuses. But nothing ever happens. No one gets prosecuted here. No one goes to jail. All the things we've done here. My God, the number of people that should have gone to jail here in the United States. Instead, we bailed out their banks. It's absolutely absurd. So people are right to be upset about that, but they're blaming the wrong people. They're blaming the corporations when it was essentially the Fed that fostered this attitude that no matter what they did, they would get away with it. The Fed's responsible for this. If people want to not protesting minimum wages, they ought to be picketing the Fed.
Well, exactly. Wells Fargo's penalty, $185 million, 3 days profit for ripping off people to the tune of billions and billions.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and I'm waiting for the lawsuits. Yeah, they get fined $180 million. Where's the lawsuit? There ought to be a class action lawsuit, and Wells Fargo ought to get taken. But it ain't going to happen. Nothing's going to happen from this, and nothing ever happens from this. And until the voters get angry enough to actually do something, we were right there. Trump could have won this. All he had to do was act presidential for 90 minutes in that first debate. He couldn't do it, and now we're going to get stuck with Hillary Clinton here, who's the biggest warmonger on the planet. I can't imagine anything good coming out in her term, and even Bill Clinton now is admitting what a disaster Obamacare is. What a total disaster that is. And some people believe that they knew this up front, that, this was all part of the plan to go to single payer, and certainly Hillary's talking about that. Well, unless she takes control of both houses of Congress, that's not going to happen. And I don't think that will happen this first term. Who knows in second? 2 years from now? I don't know.
Well, we keep saying Hillary's a warmonger. Where is this war going to start, and who's it against?
Well, she wants a no-fly zone in Syria, even though just last week, Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff was asked at a congressional meeting, why we didn't do that or why we couldn't do that, and he said because it would risk a war with Russia, and, quote, I'm not prepared to do that. Well, Hillary is prepared to do that, and, she has announced that's what she wants to do. And all of these neocons, Senator McCain is certainly, more comfortable with Hillary Clinton in there. In fact, he tweeted today, even on her Supreme Court justices. He said, I'm not at all, sure that the appointments under Hillary would be any worse than Trump. So all the neocons are rallying around Hillary, and it's the whole thing is just so disgusting to me because I am extremely anti-war, and this is a big mistake. I said that in Vietnam. I said that in Iraq. I have, my position has always been against meddling where we don't belong. The results speak for themselves.
Deutsche Bank, of course, is probably the basket case of Europe. Are they going to have bail-ins or bailouts?
I don't know, but my advice for anyone in Europe is to not have your money in a bank, period. I don't know what the alternative is. It's not a European bank. I'm reasonably certain that bail-ins are coming to Italy, and a bail-in very well might come to Deutsche Bank because we don't know what its derivatives book is. I don't even believe they know what their derivatives book is. But I'm quite certain it's padded with lies, just as we saw, in the housing crisis. The losses are there. The Italian bank system, we're still talking about 300 billion euros worth of or more than that in bank losses in Italian banks. That's a fifth of their GDP in bad loans. And they come up with these schemes to throw $5 billion at it as if that's going to do anything. They're crazy. So, without a doubt, the ECB is lying, the banks are lying. We just don't know the extent of the lies. However, we can look at the share price of some of these banks, and we see the market does not believe them. That's about all we can say.
The French Prime Minister says he isn't advocating the United States of Europe, yet he says they should have their own military, their own border security. Isn't that the United States of Europe?
Well, it is. He wants their own military. He wants secure borders. He wants to say who can come in and out. Now, once you're in, you can freely travel around all these countries, just like you can in the United States. You can go from Utah to Montana, or from Illinois to Indiana, or any state to any other state by air. So, but so here we are. They're making these things, and the weird thing is, he said we don't want a United States of Europe, but he listed all these things that he does want, and every one of them was arguing, in effect, precisely for the United States of Europe. And these leaders over there really don't get it. People are angry because they do not see the system is working for them. That is what Brexit is all about. So these nanny-crat solutions are for, we just didn't do enough of it. People are already tired of what they see, and these people are clamoring for more. We've got the rise of Marine Le Pen. In France, we've got an Austria election, and I believe the next president is going to be an anti-immigration president as head of Austria, and they're talking about, and then Angela Merkel comes out. This really irritated me. The press didn't even hop on her for this. She issued the most wishy-washy, disingenuous is the correct word, statement possible. She said, I wish I could turn back the hands of time. And it wasn't to change her opinion about what she would do. She wanted to change the clock back years further so she could prepare for this migration of people coming in. Not that she was going to cancel it. So that's how preposterous things are here right now, and I don't believe that's going to hold over the voters, and we'll find out, because we've got elections coming up in France. I don't think Marine Le Pen will win, although I do believe she'll make it to the second round. I don't believe Angela Merkel will remain as chancellor. We'll see. I'm not seeing any polls on this, but that's my belief. I think she's gone.
I'll get very nervous if I start seeing politicians with small mustaches and greasy hair start to win.
Well, then don't look at Hillary. That's all I can tell you.
Mish, thank you so much for chatting with us.
It's a pleasure to be on.
My guest has been Mish Shedlock, editor of Mish's Global Economic Trend Analysis on MishTalk.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Questions can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.